All right. We are live. Hope everyone is doing well. Oh boy. Ooh, let's see. Make sure my audio is solid. It looks like it is. We're going to talk about why your pickup skills are failing or why maybe they're not as optimal as they should be. So, we're going to talk about 5 things that will sort of, point. Some of them might be a little bit obvious, but I don't know. Sometimes there are things that are obvious to me that ends up not being obvious. And if we're obvious, then you'd be doing those things. So hopefully this will help you guys out and spark some thoughts for you to start doing some different things to um, improve your game and improve the your dates and improve the situations you have going on with women in your life, right? That's the whole idea. Okay. So especially obviously for you single guys or guys who are, in non monogamous situations. That being said, today is the first day of open enrollment for Pickup Skills for a Busy Man. The link to join the, to join the course, to get the course is below in the description of the video. So it is now being offered. When I get to 100 people, I'll reevaluate, but I'm probably going to close at 100 so I can facilitate all of the Zoom calls. And we're, I think, a little over halfway there now already. So if it's something that you're interested in, definitely click that link and jump onto that course. There's, what is it? I think I have 22 modules plus 5 bonus modules. It's pretty much everything you'll need to know. And the reason for the course is really just not just to teach you pickup skills or my method or whatever. It's to help you develop your own method, because your lifestyle, age, look, and all that stuff is going to be different than somebody else. And so now, and so not everything's going to work for you. Some stuff's going to work really well, some stuff isn't. So that course is designed to help you. So that's it. Enough of that advertisement. Let's get into it. And of course, you guys got any questions, shoot them over in the chat and we'll have a little discussion. Little super chats and stuff like that help the algorithms. Right, guys. So let's get into it. So the number one reason I find that people are screwing up with their game is that they're not practicing or training enough. That is the number one reason. Okay. So, and we got 5 reasons. So that's just number one for today. Then I'm sure there's more of a possible of 5 reasons. But what I usually see though is that guys are not taking enough action. That's probably the biggest problem, is that they're not getting out there. They're not sourcing enough. They're not having enough conversations with women, and they're not trying to close enough. They're not going on enough dates. I mean, they're just not doing that work. They're learning the material. They're trying to watch things on YouTube, whatever, watch different stuff. And they're just not getting out there and improving their situation. They're basically getting the reward of feeling like they're improving their situation, but they're not actually going out and getting the real reward of having better quality of women in their lives and better dates. And so that's the thing. And then some of you guys will get some success, and then you'll get in that rut of having your different plates, but those plates you're not exactly happy with. They're okay for now. They're okay for somebody to keep you company in a casual situation, but you're really not changing your circumstance. And so you get a girl or two that you're dealing with, and then you stop going out and really trying to source women and practice opening and talking to women. And so what ends up happening there is then a girl comes along that you really are interested in, someone who's really good looking, really hot or whatever, or you run into that circumstance, and then your game is weak. You can't calibrate yourself the way that you want in order to move that process along. And so that's what happens to just so many guys. It's like, oh, I saw this really hot girl and I went to talk to her and I just blew it. And it's like, but they were nervous on the approach. They fumbled over their words. They didn't really assess the situation very well, which is a big part of it. and their inner game was off going in there. So their mind just wasn't right. They just didn't convey the right message to her, or were not able to pick up the right signals from her. And so, that stuff takes practice. And I don't care what you know, I don't care how good you are. If you're not out there talking to women, and if you have a lull in that, that's anybody. That's me. That's anybody and everybody. And if they say differently, they're lying to you. Okay. And obviously someone with more experience, is going to pick it up where they left off a lot quicker than somebody with less experience. But there is an element of just where that gets a little bit rusty. It's almost like a muscle. It's a skill set of being able to engage and build rapport quickly, and then to lead a social interaction. And that skill set requires practice. It's like public speaking, or think of anything. You take the best stand-up comedian in the world. Yeah, if they go on stage for the first time, like, they're going to fumble around a little bit, with some of their bits and some of their stuff. Let's say if it's that stand-up comedian, no matter who he is, how good he is, it's not going to come across as polished. This is why guys go on tour. This is why guys take new material to clubs, right? And then they figure it out. By the time you watch their Netflix special, they've done those bits time in, time out, and they've worked out the bugs, and the kinks. And so, people who are really good at this stuff, we make it look effortless. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't effort that went into making it look effortless, right? And there's always an amount of calibration and practice. And a lot of it's just getting your inner state right, which, we'll get into that a little bit in a second. But if you're not practicing, if you're just not getting out there, you lose that little bit of calibration. And so that's even for the best guys who are the best. And so if that happens to everybody who's the best, like, they need to calibrate a little bit, what do you think is going to happen to you? If you're not something that you necessarily teach, right? It's not your best skill set in the world. Even if you're really good, it's not necessarily your best skill set. You just learned some stuff and just learned how to do some pickup stuff. You're probably not, if you're not out there getting repetitions in and practicing and training, then you're just not going to do well. Your results are not going to be as good. And so that's the first thing is action. You just have to take action. Taking the action in a lot of ways is more important than taking the right action sometimes. You know what I mean? And so that's something to think about, because as you interact with people, you're going to start to calibrate what you're doing a little bit to try to point you towards better results. So even if you learned some really crappy skills and methods, you're probably still going to improve just because you're simply going out there and doing it. I of course would hope you get the right stuff eventually, but it's like the improvement is going to happen in the action, and all of the theory and the practice and watching passively other people do it through some infields or this, that, and the other, and ruminating over it and thinking about it, that doesn't replace getting out there and doing it. I mean, that's just a fact. And there's nothing wrong. Like, you could have somebody who's giving you tons of theory and it's all correct theory. It's all the correct stuff, but you still have to take it. It doesn't matter what they do. All right. You still have to take it and get out there and do it for you. All right. And so that's the biggest thing. Now, what can you do if you're not, besides simply like, trying to close every single woman on a date? What other intermediary things can you do? Because sometimes you're not around like women that you want to necessarily take out, right? Sometimes you're not in that circumstance. So what can you do? Well, you can practice just opening and talking to people in general. That is a very valuable warm-up skill, right? Is practicing just opening people and opening women. It has nothing to do with taking it anywhere. It has nothing to do with trying to get anything out of them. It's simply the art of social interaction and making a human-to-human connection. I mean, a big part of picking up on women is simply that, just making a connection to another human being and then taking that interaction where you want. And so you can get a lot of repetition and practice, even if there aren't hot girls around that you want to talk to. Okay. Just by doing that. And just by practicing and rehearsing that. And then you could also rehearse some of your skills with maybe somebody you know, or a partner, or a coach, and actually role play. Role playing can be a valuable skill too, right? And so you could role play stuff happening in the intermediate. Now you still want to get in front of good looking girls and risk yourself getting shot down. And in fact, you will get shot down a few times, and that's okay. You still want to get out there and talk to people, and you want to make it, like I said, you make it a game. Like we call it game, but you actually want to make it like that. It's not that serious. They don't know you. You don't know them. You know what I mean? There's nobody's getting hurt. You're just simply making a connection and moving it along. All right. So get out there and do it. That's number one. All right. The biggest reason people are not doing well is they simply don't do it. And then that's why. All right. So number two, what's the number two thing? And I'll try to peek at the chat a little bit, but like I said, if I don't see some kind of highlighted thing, let's look at this question real quick. I did catch yours. So I'm traveling. Question is, I'm traveling with my game, or struggling, traveling. I'm reading your name. I'm struggling with my game, suffering when I get in an introverted mood. This can go on for a week. How do I counter this? So I just told you how. One of the ways. I'll get you another way in a minute when I get to number three. Okay, but one of the ways is simply you're in this introverted mood. Well, you get yourself out of a mood by forcing yourself to have low consequence social interaction. And so just simply talking to a random person, in line somewhere or wherever on the street or at a bar, tavern, restaurant, person, even a waitress or bartender is literally getting paid to serve you and talk to you. Doesn't mean they're getting paid to be hit on, but they're easy to talk to because they're getting paid to do it. And so they almost have to, even if they don't like you. That can be a little bit of a break, though, and a breakthrough if you're in that introverted state and you're just having, just not feeling good enough to want to talk to people. Just simply make yourself talk to people in a lower consequence situation. If you're talking to some old lady, you know what I mean, on at a store somewhere, a grocery store, just saying hi to somebody or whatever, how's your day, something that simple, very low consequence, right? And so that's not going to require a lot of discipline and effort or push for you to do that. But that small little effort will then cause you to be able to talk to more people and sort of get out of that introverted mood. So the first answer to that question is action. All right. And it goes back to that number one. Just take action. Don't worry about whether it's going to work or not. When you're talking to the hot girl that you would just like really want to, get in the bedroom, right, is just like super hot. And you're just like, oh, damn, right. That's what seems like a bigger consequence. You're going to perceive that blowing that one out, okay, as a much bigger consequence. And so that's going to bring you a lot of anxiety and nervousness, and you may not even approach. You may just let that one pass and then kick yourself in the ass later, because you haven't been practicing smaller intermediate steps to making that bigger leap of talking to the really hot girl. And so that's how you get over the approach anxiety. That's how you get over this not being a good state, not being in a good mood. One of the ways, the most practical way, which is just taking action and taking small action. Practice in the mirror a little bit, before you leave the house or go someplace. All right. Practice with a friend over the phone or something, just a little bit. Visualize and rehearse in your head. Then do small little openers on people that there's no consequence, and just have little social conversations and engage people socially. Practice if you're following my stuff and doing my method, you're going to practice different types of questions and topics, right? And trying to go 3 levels deep and then horizontally to find what their point of interest is, And so just practice that skill of doing that. That's how you engage someone in a conversation. When you are in the process of making yourself do it, it'll help pull you out of that. Okay. So yeah, let's get into the next one. So number two reason that your pickup skills may be failing is that you are practicing, you're learning some stuff, but you're learning the wrong shit. All right. And so that's just a thing, is that you may be, or probably or possibly are just learning a shitty technique. Now I don't mean shit in terms of, because sometimes it's a good information, but not for you. So there's two things. There's straight up shitty pickup stuff, right? There's a lot of crappy pickup artists and shitty stuff on the internet that it just sucks. It's just not good. You know what I mean? And anything will work on low hanging fruit, drunk or high girls, girls in different circuits. Girls, think about how many times girls sleep with dudes who have zero game and it doesn't matter, right? And so some of these people are literally on the internet teaching game. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's the truth, like it's like if you just get enough repetitions out there and dealing with, whatever, just girls in the right circumstance and the right timing, even if you suck at game, you'll end up pulling them a lot of times. So, right place, right time, being attractive enough and just getting out there pulls girls sometimes. And a lot of guys confuse that with success. Really, all it is success because of effort. It's not really success because of skills and being actually good at it. And why does that matter? Well, because these girls that they're pulling are probably not that great of experiences, right? You want to have good experiences and make good connections with higher level, we'll say higher quality, higher level girls. And so that's, you know, we're not, you're not going to have that if your game's not at least a little bit better. And, but guys will get laid and they'll just be counting lay counts or whatever. They're not qualifying it. They're just quantifying it. And that's a mistake. Counting lays is only one measure, and it's not even the most important one, in my opinion. It's not even that close to the most important one. What's important is your level of happiness and you feeling like you're having good experiences. I mean, I certainly would take, and I think most of my clients would take 10 good experiences over 50 bad, mediocre experiences. Do you know what I mean? And so it's not so much the quantity, it's the quality that matters too. Now, of course, if you don't have sexual access at all and you have sex once a year with a halfway decent girl and you're saying, well, I'm really holding out for quality, well, then you're probably fooling yourself. But within, some sort of reason, right? You want to have quality experiences. Your skills are going to point you towards that. And sometimes the shit you're practicing or doing, though, is just the wrong shit. And so it's either bad stuff, and sometimes some of the pickup stuff that's out there is so bad that you would be better off not doing anything at all, not learning anything at all, and just going out there and being a human being. Like, some of the shit is so weak that it literally unravels how to just be a person, right? Like, and people will practice the stuff thinking they're cool or they're funny or they're doing some technique, and it's all bullshit, and they literally are worse off than when they started. So you don't want that to be the case. That's the more, I don't want to say extreme because it happens all the time, but that's the more egregious situation, I guess. But there's another situation as well, which is just you're learning a method or technique and you're more or less LARPing that technique or trying to live action role play, or you're going to model. I don't mean to say LARP. Okay. Let's call it modeling, because modeling is a learning method. That's where you see how somebody does something and then you try to model what they're doing. But the problem with that is that you might be modeling something that works for somebody on a consistent basis that will not work for you on a consistent basis, because your personality type and your look and your archetype, what I call your archetype, how people perceive you, won't match what you're trying to do. And you won't be congruent at all. And women will pick up on that. Whereas the other dude could come in and do exactly that sort of game and that use those lines, use that kind of style, really, and do very well. So that's the other part of it, is that it's not that it's bad stuff, it's just the wrong stuff. And it's not good for you. So that's why that was the motivation for me creating my course. There's a lot of pickup stuff out there. Well, my thing is, like, there's so many people I've worked with who they had to learn their own style of doing it. You know what I mean? we get into this really divisive situation in the internet where, guys will learn somebody else's method and it's either not good or it just doesn't suit them. They won't get the results and then they become, a black pillar. They become nihilistic. They become negative on women because they don't have abundance of women. They try to deduce it to simple explanations, which don't really work or aren't really true. Like, oh, it's all about your looks. It's all about this. It's not that looks aren't important, but there's certainly, a lot to be said about being able to make a connection with another human being. And in the case of getting chicks to want to bang you, making that connection in a seductive, attractive way. And the way that I might do that is going to be different than the way that somebody else might do it, stylistically at least, although many principles will be the same. Our personality types are different. So when I teach, I don't have someone just model or LARP what I'm doing. I have them develop their own style. And that's why my course is designed to do. Because some of you guys aren't going to go, some of you guys are going to go to bars. Hell, I go to bars. I enjoy it. I talk to new people all the time. I talk to new people on the street all the time. But what if you work from home in IT and your interaction is more social circle, right? Well, actually, social circle is the biggest way that that's the most relationships happen from social circle. They don't happen from dating apps. They don't even happen from cold meetings. And so social circle is the biggest pie on that pie chart for how people meet each other and hook up and get into relationships. And so for a lot of you guys who have adult jobs and adult lives, okay, social circle is going to be the way to go. How you're going to pick up a girl with social circle is going to be dependent on your personality, her personality, but also the environment that you're in. Okay. And so the social environment in which you interact with her at is going to dictate how you're going to approach your style, how direct or indirect you have to be, and so on and so forth, and what logistical steps you'll need to take. And there's just so much to it. So how do you figure all that out? Well, what you do is you learn some good principles and then you design your own way of doing that given your personal circumstance. That's what I do with people. That's the solution. But either way, whether it's my stuff or you learn something else, just be sure that whatever you're doing fits who you are. Okay. Now I know some of you guys can't actually really, like, it's a bigger question. Who am I is a bigger question. What people want to admit, most people don't really know who they are. That's a fact. Most people don't know that. Okay. That's why in my mindset course, I have a whole chapter on identity. Literally building who you are is a whole thing. But provided, let's say you have an idea of who you are and what works for you, you're going to want to try something that's congruent and fits with that. You want to develop a pickup style that fits with that, not somebody else's style, or to do just something that's just outright shitty and bad. How do you know if it's shitty or bad? Because you're going out there and you're doing it. Goes back to point number one, theorizing on the internet of what works and people lying about things, posturing, bullshitting you about all their lays and the things that they've gotten to work for them. That's not going to be important. It's going to give you a skewed idea of what reality is like. Your reality with women is what happens to you when you go out, okay, and actually work this stuff and talk to people. So that's what's going to give you that sobering reality is action and actually doing it. All right. So yeah. So number one is you're not training. That's one way. You're not practicing. Number two, practicing the wrong stuff, something that doesn't fit you. All right. So what would number three be? Number three is your inner game. So the other reason people are failing is that they're just not right up here, okay. So their mindset towards women, their mindset towards, the girl that they're trying to talk to, their mindset towards themselves is just off, it's effed up. It's not good. And so go back and travel back here to, see a lot of words here again. I saw a question. So what was this question, John Smith? So we got to answer a quick question from the chat. I see girls I want to talk to, but they don't make eye contact with me. How do I go about this? I take it personally. I'm a decent dude. So right there is a great Great question applying to number three. Okay. So, John, first off, dude, is your inner game's off. If you're taking it personally when a woman doesn't look at you, why? What is it? Think about the level, and I'm not trying to shit on you. So just, you know, this is tough love, we'll call it, right? From a chat. Think about how kind of arrogant that is. You know what I mean? I'm the best looking guy in the world can walk into a place and not get noticed, really, by somebody who's in their own head and doing their own thing. And that somebody's women. Okay, women are constantly inundated with men trying to get their attention. So even the best looking girl, they'll ignore that guy a lot of times. They won't even notice if they're not in the right mind state to be picked up on. And so the fact that you're personalizing it is telling me that your mindset's fucked, right? All right, because you're assuming that some girl is basically making a statement about your value. They're doing one of two things. You're either internalizing as her lack of interest towards you is a statement of your value and you feel bad about yourself and you're angry about that, right? Or upset or frustrated with that. Or you're thinking, I'm so fucking cool that this girl not looking at me makes her insert a whole bunch of negative fucking shit about her. Either one is the wrong mental framework. All right. And so it's that kind of stuff that will fuck you up because how do you approach her? Well, think about it. Think about it. If, thank you. And so Kate's one of my female listeners. She's, has some good insight here. Most of what we do is not personal. We can be completely in our heads and oblivious. Exactly. Exactly. You see what I'm saying? And so now think about this. If you're not taking it personally that she doesn't notice you, how would you approach her? I mean, that'll answer your own question right there. It's simple. It depends on why she's not noticing you, right? So there's going to be a circumstantial thing. You can come up to her with an indirect open, so it's just something indirect to get her attention and see if she's susceptible or open to conversation, you know? Um, and that's usually probably the best way in those circumstances. If it's at a nightclub or somewhere, maybe it's a little bit more direct if she's in an environment where getting picked up on happens. There's all kinds of ways to get her attention and open, and it's all going to be circumstantial. But if your mindset is that either there's something wrong with me that she doesn't notice me, or there's something wrong with her for not noticing me, then you're all fucked. You know what I mean? You're going to go in with the wrong mental framework, And so that's that frustrated chump kind of thing. And I'm not saying you're frustrated chump, but that's like a precursor to it. Is like, fuck that bitch. She doesn't want to look at me and talk to me, whatever, kind of thing. It's like, well, really, fine. You don't want to talk to me. Well, F you then kind of a mindset, right? Like, just, that's a frustrated guy who can't get women talking, right? And it comes off that way. Women catch that, a whiff of that. And it's like, right. And women will sense that on you before you even go up to them. And that's really one of the biggest things. I mean, besides not practicing and training and practicing the wrong stuff, just what's going on up in here will sabotage all of everything you're trying to do, no matter what you learn, really. But the more you talk to women and the more you practice a methodology that's going to be fitting for your personality, the more you're going to realize that most of the time that you get rejected or she doesn't notice you or whatever, it has nothing to do with you at all. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter. Like, and when I'm coaching guys one-on-one, I can always tell when a guy turns that corner and starts getting abundance, because in the beginning, let's say take a guy who's not getting any results. Okay. He's trying to open and he's trying to get girls and he's not getting any results. And so he's focused on all the losses. So usually what he's doing is he's not sourcing enough women. I'll talk to this guy, it'll be like a couple weeks, and then I'll talk to him in one of my groups, or I'll talk to him somewhere on a consult. I used to do a lot of one-on-ones prior to the groups. I talked to him, might be a week or two goes by, and he's talked to like 2 or 3 women, which is not enough women, like literally just talked to, opened or something, got rejected. You know what I mean? Had some text banter go on with one and no dates. And then he's like over analyzing all of the things, every step that happened with these 3 women. And so that's how I know he's not doing well. All right. And then I try to get him in a mindset of not caring about what these women think about him, because they're not somebody he knows, likes, trusts, or has any kind of relationship with. Therefore, there's no consequence there. Okay. If they don't like you, or they get a bad reaction from your approach or your opener or whatever, you just analyze it from the standpoint of after action review. What could I have done better? What did I do that was good? And then that's it. You forget about it. You focus on you and your behavior. You don't focus on the girl and what was going on in her head. And maybe she was doing like this, but she said this, but maybe she really had this going on, or maybe she was just blowing me off. Like, who cares? Do you know what I mean? Now, to a degree, I understand getting a read on a woman and stuff, and being able to empathetically understand what she's saying and what she's not saying and her emotional state. Yeah, sure, that's important, right? But who cares? If she's not pushing, meeting you at least halfway to getting out with you, at some point, you know what I mean? Then you got to be on to the next girl. And then that same guy, after some coaching and the right stuff and being yelled at by me to go practice and get out there, he'll talk to, without even trying too hard, he might talk to like 15, 20 women in a few days, like not even trying too hard, not talking, going out to pick up, just throughout the course of being a normal person. And then he'll have some dates lined up, and then his focus is on the dates he has lined up and what's going on there. His focus isn't on the girls, the other, 15 girls that rejected him. He might go, oh, if there's some significant blowouts that, where he really messed up, he might share that with me so we can get a laugh at it. And usually we're just laughing at it because he doesn't take it that personal. And he's focused on, okay, I got this girl on Friday. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the situation. What do you think? And it's just getting that input. You know what I mean? Or, hey, this, whatever. You're getting input on the girls that are interested in him. That's how I know. And how does that happen? Well, his inner game's right up here. His mind is right. He's not worried about these girls who don't notice him. He's not worried. He doesn't care. Do you know what I mean? You're not good looking enough. You never are. It doesn't fucking matter. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So it's just, that's it. You're focused on the wrong shit. And so we got to get your mind right? We got to get you rejection proof and unfuckwithable, how to say that. Got my buddy Jaron over here. I ran into words of wisdom. Let's see what he's got for us. I ran into that problem a while back of being always alpha all the time. The minute I dropped the facade and let some of my inner nerd shine through, the game results is increased substantially. Well, yes, exactly. You got to be who you are. You know what I mean? Stop trying to be somebody different. And that's gonna, authenticity is gonna get you a lot further with everybody. All right. And so you have to have your mind right. You have to think, you have to know that you're good enough. Do you know what I mean? That you have and that's not just because you're lying to yourself, but because you do things to make yourself good enough. You work on yourself. And so you show up, and that's who you are. And if somebody doesn't notice that or rejects that, it's just not a big deal. And you're not ruminating with negative red pill, black pill, MGTOW, incel, whatever word we want to put to it. Do you know what I mean? The negative shit that's out there that talks about women in a shitty way. You're not like bringing all of that negative shit to your interaction with women. That's killing a lot of you guys, because you're just so fucked up here, It's like, yeah, maybe she is just a basic hoe, ran through a bunch of dudes and whatever, blah, 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 right? Maybe, or maybe she's a freaking angel. You don't know. So you just, you just talk to them and you enjoy and you accept them for who they are. Accepting people for who they are is it and recognizing who they are, not trying to force them to be different, good or bad. I mean, if they're not good for an LTR, then don't be in an LTR with them. If they're not good for short-term dating, don't short-term date them. You know what? I turned down more girls for sexual opportunities and short-term dates than I've ever accepted. And that's a place you need to be at, because there's a lot of girls that aren't good girls for either one. And guess what? That's okay. Doesn't mean that you can't have a good interaction and nice time somewhere, whatever, whether it's and then just move on with your life, right? And so that's, letting all of these other people, these other women and their capabilities, whether or not they're a good girl, bad girl, all that stuff, affect who you are and your mind state is killing some of you guys. It's absolutely killing you. All right. So get out there, talk to women. That's number one. Actually train and practice more often. Do the right stuff, not something that isn't authentic or doesn't fit you, and get this right up here so that you can, have a good time and bring your best game to the table and not sabotage yourself when you talk to people. And I'll tell you what, if my mind's not like right, I'm not in the right place, I'm not going to be good when I talk to somebody, chick or no, girl or no girl. It's just the way it is. It's everybody. That's everybody. So now number 4, you aren't getting enough emotional buy-in during what I call the buildup. All right. So, and let's I'll take a peek at this chat here. What do we got here? Okay. It's not a contest. So he writes, bro, what? Women try to force us to be different all the time. So what? So what, dude? Is your frame so weak that what some woman does is going to make you be different? Why? Why don't you be you? Because it's who you are. That's having impeccable frame, right? Okay. And so, yes, you want to watch for your red flags and all that stuff. Right. But you're not going to try to force them to be different. Who cares? That's the wrong framework, dude. You know what I mean? If I'm not going to be like a piece of crap to women because women have been a piece of crap to me. There was a time in my life where I did that stuff and I thought that way. And I was like, fuck, who cares? You know what I mean? It was like, these women do this to us, so I'll do this to her. I don't care. I've been that place before. So I'm not immune to it. I'm certainly not perfect. I totally get that mindset, but it's the wrong mindset. You know what I mean? It just leads to a lot of toxic situations with women that aren't any fun. Yeah, you still get laid, and all that, but I mean, it's not really that fun, to be honest. And you become a bad person. You become a shitty person thinking that way. Why am I going to become a shitty person because other people were shitty to me? You know what I mean? That is me being weak. When I was doing that, that was weakness. All right. If I'm letting other people's behavior make me different in a bad way, then I'm weak for doing that. At least that's a weakness. Being strong is not letting their bullshit make me different. I make me different because I choose to be different in the way that I want to be, or if I do, make a mistake and I'm different in a bad way and I have to address that, it's because of me though, not because other people, did something or treat me a certain way. So now I have to treat them different. You see what I'm saying? And so that's back to that number 3, her inner game here. Now there is some wisdom in that statement though, in this sense, like, let's say you're not texting a girl back right away, but it's not because you're playing games or you're acting differently than you. It's just because because she's not a priority. You got other shit going on, and then you text her. And then some guys, or she tries to guilt trip you, you don't have to feel bad about that, because she's certainly not texted guys right back right away plenty of times in her life. And there's going to be a time, if the interaction continues, that she won't text you back right away. And so you don't need to be guilty about that. So there is an understanding of like not having a double standard for how you judge yourself, you know what I mean? And not letting other people judge you with a double standard. So there is some wisdom there. But when it comes down to my behavior, though, I'm not going to allow my behavior to be worse or allow me to be as a person worse because somebody else was not good to me. You know what I mean? That's letting their frame influence my frame in a bad way, which is not really good, right? That's not what we want to do. And that's certainly not going to help me have better experiences with better, higher caliber women. So, so yeah. But back to number 4, though. So that was to answer that question. But number 4 was, and to address the little comment, but okay, you aren't getting enough emotional buy-in during the buildup. All right, so what do I mean by that? So you come up to a girl and be like, "Hey, how's it going?" She's like, "Nah, good. Yeah, you having a good time?" "Yeah, I'm having a good time." "Well, cool. Well, I got to go over there. Hey, why don't I get your phone number?" She's like, "Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sure, I guess." You're like, "All right, cool. See you later." All right, so there's your interaction, right? Yeah, she might answer you. She thought you were hot enough. But is there much emotional buy-in in that little interaction? Is she really thinking this guy's like super hot guy? I mean, she might be, but probably doubtful, right? That's pretty low impact, you know? Now, what if you do, of course, you know, open and then you guys start talking a little bit and you start getting into questions. You make her laugh a little bit. She starts asking you questions. So you get a little deep into the conversation. You're actually having fun with this person, right? Even if it's only for 2 minutes. And then, you break contact. You're like, yeah, I see you with your friends. My friends are going over there. So let me grab your number. Well, let's talk. Let's meet up later or something. Oh yeah, cool, right? Having a good interaction, even if it was like a passing interaction, because let's say really you're leaving the place and she's got her friends and it's super passing. That happens sometimes. What's better? Having some emotional buy-in during what I call the buildup. The buildup is the conversation. So you have your opener, right? Where, hey, what's up? How's it going? What you drinking? Did you see that fight outside? You look cute, whatever. I don't usually start with compliments personally, but sometimes people do, whatever. That's your opener, right? And your close is, what are you doing later? Let's meet up. Where are you guys off to? Come with me. Text your friends to meet up with us. Let's go over here after a longer conversation, preferably. Or, just let me get your number, call you later, that shit, right? That's your close. Okay. Well, what happens in between that? That's your build up. You're building up from hi, I'm a stranger to this guy's cute or attractive and I would sleep with him under the right circumstances. And then some sort of close to move that interaction along, right? And so maybe that's, hey, let's go sit over here. You get compliance, move to one location to another. You know what I mean? Or, you guys are fun. Well, tell your friends, come with us. We're going to another place or go to my place. I got food, like whatever. You're moving the interaction along. Okay. And in between that, there's this banter, this is conversation. It's that conversation is where all that money's made. All right. And so that's, I say the money, of course. I mean, that's when she gets the most sort of a buy-in to want to be around you. That as well as following your lead, those two things. All right. And so, which I already allude to what my next number is, but so problem with a lot of guys is they just don't have good conversations. They have dull conversations. They're too focused on the opener. They struggle with the close. And so they're too focused on how do I close this thing? Right. And that can all be resolved with some basic rehearsals and practice. But your close should be simple and seamless. In fact, if you're doing well enough, she'll oftentimes close on you. Okay. The close is relatively seamless when your interaction is good. When she has a strong attraction during the actual conversation you're having, which is what I call the buildup, That's what makes your close seamless. Your opener could be awkward and ridiculous. It actually doesn't matter if, as long as you deliver it with confident enough body language, and then you end up in a conversation. Now, of course, good openers can be valuable. Good openers on the internet, so dating apps and social media, that's more important because that's the only way you can grab her attention. Whereas in person, they don't have a choice but be in front of you. Do you know? But it's that conversation that you're in. And so in when I teach guys, and what I'll train you in the course, if you jump in the course and sign up below, is how to talk, what I call going wide and what I call going deep. So you have a series of topics, and what guys will do is a lot of times they'll get stuck on it, or they'll try something like, oh, so what'd you do today? I just worked. Oh, where do you work at? And then but she doesn't want to talk about work. Work is not interesting to her. And so the guys will get stuck on a topic that is dull to her, and her emotional buy-in is really low. And then they never pivot from that topic. You know what I mean? And so they don't, they end up having like a job interview style conversation, or they're just not flowing to anything that's interesting, and so they're not being interesting, and they're not engaging her in an interesting conversation or asking interesting questions. And so when you go wide, it's the ability to, when you recognize there's low interest here, to be able to pivot to the next thing or the next thing, and having a read on her on top of it, so you know what to pivot to. You can get a read on a girl and tell what kind of shit she might be responsive to and what she's not going to be responsive to. And so you hit and hammer on a topic that she's responsive to, and then boom, it kind of ignites a little bit more of an interest. And then from there, you can go deep into that conversation. You add that with authority and, in compliance and location changes and all kinds of stuff. Now you have a girl that will sleep with you the same night, or you have, things working out really well for you. All right. So going wide in terms of, okay, I have a number of topics I can talk about and hammer on. And if she's not interested in one thing, it's pretty dull, I can pivot into something else, something funny, something total fantasy ridiculous, something, more interesting or deep or whatever, and then going 2 or 3 levels deep. And what I mean by that is just the emotional, the response. Okay. So instead of, surface level stuff, you can get a little bit deeper. And even just doing that for 2 minutes, giving a 2-minute interaction where it's a unique conversation that stimulates some emotion. What ends up happening, if you only had 2 minutes to then do some sort of a close, like you're either coming with me right now or exchanging numbers, well, that's, if you inspired some emotion and some buy-in and stimulated her desire, it's gonna go okay. All right. But it's going to go well for you. If you don't do that, though, that's why you're failing. And so a lot of guys are just dull in the conversation. And when you get a girl actually on the date or get her out or whatever, that's where the money's made. And that's where you guys actually get out on the girl one-on-one, right? Like, so whether it's the same night or a different night, you get her out, you get her to come meet you up, or you get her whatever, you're meeting her someplace, and then your conversations just suck, right? And so that's where you guys lose out a lot of it. And don't expect a girl to carry the conversation, because girl game sucks. She's not good at it. Okay. And so she's used to having a lot of attention. Women, especially the really pretty ones, can be very lazy with this stuff. And they expect a guy to lead and to lead that conversation. And if she's not having a good conversation, the chances of her going, you know what, I'm just a really boring person to talk to, is pretty low. You know what I mean? She's going to figure that you're the problem and definitely not sleep with you. So even if the chick is a total fucking, you know, just dope, right? And just boring, I'm at least going to be interesting, and I'm going to stimulate some sort of emotion during that conversation, even if it comes down to negging or, negative compliments, or, messing with her a little bit, or just being funny, or even just, learning when to ignore her and talk to her friend. I'm going to stimulate some sort of emotion there. And that's what you guys need to do. And that's a reason you're failing, is you're not doing enough of that. Okay. And that comes with practice, and certainly how you can't have your inner game all fucked up, right? And be taking things personal if she's just not seeming to be that responsive or whatever. There's been plenty of times myself and my clients have had started with a girl who is low on a level of responsiveness who ends up sleeping with them that same night. You know what I mean? But that's because they know how to push pull and string that interaction along, getting her eventually more bought in and to lead them with their authority to where they want. All right. So you can't, take things personal. You just got to get better. You got to get better at engaging people. So let's see now. What do we got? Yeah, this is good advice too for my good friend Jaron. Be careful about consuming content from people who genuinely dislike women. Absolutely. Even if I watch that stuff for entertainment, it always interferes with my game. Relax and have fun. Yeah, dude, you can't all this negative bullshit that's out there really. And again, not the objective stuff that's keeping you out of trouble, but stuff that goes way into the we men ain't shit kind of stuff. It's really not going to help your game. It's really going to mess you up. Put you in a bad space. This was an interesting one I wanted to find here. You guys would help me out if you threw a little thing in there, $1, so that the YouTube searches me. I don't really need. I'll pay your dollar back. I don't care. It just makes my stuff get found easier. All right, so I just don't get where to meet women. Darting apps, thinking about dating, of course. Kind of all this have the same. Yeah, well, don't be on. Well, yeah. I mean, I personally prefer in person. And you don't get where to meet women. What don't you get? I mean, what do you do? There's women everywhere. Here's an exercise. If you don't know where to get women from, okay, this is everybody, all right? I want you to, and don't be like, extra ridiculous about this, okay? Let's be objective about this. Women that you would bang, okay? Women that are hot enough to bang, which is definitely a lot more of those than, let's say, the girl you want to settle down with, or the super hot one. Okay, whatever, right? I'm not saying because you only date nines, bro, or whatever, right? Or only date tens, bro. Okay, girls who are hot enough, attractive enough, where you could have a good time sexually with them. All right, which is going to broaden that category. Okay, we as men can go a lot lower than we want to admit to our friends. All right, but just as an exercise, though. Okay, halfway decent, right? Average for you, what you consider an average looking girl that you could have fun with, to best looking. And just within a week, I just want you to keep a count. Just go throughout your day and count the number of women. You don't have to do anything else. Just count them as you see them, right? See them on the street, you see them, just start counting. And if you're not getting into the hundreds before the end of the week, your lifestyle is not as such where you're getting out of the house enough. All right. And so that means you need to change your lifestyle. Remember, I've done videos in the past on this, that your success with women is predicated on three things, which is your sexual market value, okay, your perceived value, which is your looks, your status, your money, all that kind of stuff, right? Your game, okay, or your skills. I call it skills. But so it's your sexual market value, your skills with women, and then opportunity. Okay. Remember, opportunity was the third. You could be the best, most seductive, best looking dude in the world who has the best game in the world. And if you're in a town of 10 people and they're already elderly or something, and there's no available women, and you don't interact with women, you're not going to do well with women. That's just how it is. Do you know what I mean? And some of you guys are getting off on the internet and you're not getting results. If you're getting the same things, it's because you're doing the same things. If I'm doing the same things and getting the same results and then complaining because things aren't different, I'm doing something wrong. You have to do different things to get different results. So you probably have more opportunities than you think just walking around. If you leave the house on a regular basis, you should be able to get in any decent sized town. Okay. You should be able to count at least up to into the triple digits, okay, of women that are bangable that you run into as you go throughout your week. Now, if that's not the case, then you need to change your patterns of behavior so you're around more women that are available. And I've had people have to do that. That's been a thing. I've had people who, well, they lived in a really small town, but they were a 40-minute drive from a much bigger town with a lot more options. Well, what do you think you're doing on a Friday night? Go to the bigger town. Okay. And go hang out. What do you think you're doing? And have just take the drive and go meet some people, right? If you want to meet them in person. And then on your dating apps, where you're probably using the same apps, the same profile, and all that shit. Have you shut your profile down, open it up? Have you changed things up a little bit so the algorithms hit you differently? Are you trying different apps because different locations will favor different apps? And I'm not up, nobody, well, and I'm not really up on all of that necessarily because I can't be up on, nobody can really be up on every app that's going to be viable in your area. Okay. Do you have multiple profiles? That's another question because that's a possibility. Are you paying premium service? These are all questions. Whatever you're doing, you got to do something different so you run into different subsets of women. Okay. So that's your answer to that question. Hopefully that helps. And let's get into number 5 now. Yes, thank you, sir, for the algorithms. I appreciate you and buckle up. Let's see. What is this one here? To be real, some of these looking for women haven't even worked on themselves. Yeah, that's just true. Some of the dudes who want women have no business necessarily looking for women. Well, I would say that it's part of the process, right? They need to be working on themselves rather than getting laid their focus, though. I agree. But you can still work on talking to women and being personable as you work on it. And then what happens is it gets better as you go, as you get better. So if someone's SMV is, let's say, low or mid grade, and he's talking to women anyway, he might not get very many dates out of it. But as his SMV increases, see what that does though, that forces him to have better level of skill. He's still learning those skills. And then as his SMV increases, which should be his primary focus, then what ends up happening is it gets easier for him because he was practicing on hard mode. And that's why it's good to learn this stuff when you're younger, because, guys who are, younger than 25 are at their lowest, most guys, not professional athletes and some anomalies, but most guys are at their lowest in SMV when they're younger as men, and then they increase in sexual market value over time, peaking usually around mid 30s for most guys, right? And so if you start learning how to interact with women when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, okay, and your value is the lowest, and so it's going to be the hardest around those times. Prior to 25, probably the hardest. By the time you're 31, 32, 33, and you have good income, you're in a good place. If you've been working on yourself, you'll have an influx of opportunity, So anyways, let's get to the last one, is that you aren't demonstrating authority and getting compliance. Okay, so you want to get, and you remember my formula I've said before is that it's curiosity, investment, and then getting her in her imagination or fantasy. Okay. Hopefully that fantasy of being with you in a sexual circumstance. And so it starts with curiosity. She has to be like, when you stop a girl on the street, right? She has to be curious about why she got stopped. That's it. That's the first step. Do you know what I mean? Curious about you, or you approach a girl, she's curious enough to wonder at least what it is that you're doing, right? If you're good looking, that makes her curious too. Is he interested? Is this, is that? She has all these questions in her head, questions about herself. Curiosity is a beginning, but from there, you want to get her to invest. Now, investment happens through the conversation, her allowing you to talk to her, through, participating in this conversation. But you want to take it further than that. before, and by not taking it further than that, you're not demonstrating leadership. See, it's your authority. Women are attracted, it's hypergamy, right? Women are attracted to a better genetic mating option. You demonstrate you're that better option by demonstrating authority. Okay. And so by authority, I mean, she wants to lead you, because leading you is going to get her, or leading you. She wants to follow you. What I mean to say, following you gets her basically the best results, the good feelings, what she ends up wanting, right? Whatever that is. And so maybe it's just to have a good time in the moment, which is probably all it amounts to. Well, you want to practice and make sure you're leading and demonstrating that authority. That authority is demonstrated not by being a super alpha and being an alpha and doing alpha things, whatever the fuck that means. Okay. Internet alpha. Being an internet alpha isn't how it's done. Getting her to follow you actually and do shit that you say is how it's done. Okay. So maybe she's going to watch you drink for you while you go to the bathroom. Maybe she's going to hold your drink for you because, here, hold this for me. And then you leave, then you go talk to someone else or grab something. You say, thank you so much. What is your name? What are you up to? What are you guys doing later? And like, what are you doing later? Get your friends. I got this thing, that would be a thing to do and get them right out. Right. But maybe it's, you strike up a conversation here. I'm getting another drink. Come with me. You have her come with you to the bar, have her come with you to another location inside the place, have her leave the location, have her go someplace else, have her come back to your place. These are all things, doing location changes, but a location change is just a hard demonstration of leadership. It could be something as simple as you're sitting, hey, pass me one of those napkins over there, would you? Get get their attention for me, stuff like that. Getting her to follow you, okay, is something that's a requirement. Now, even if it's the simplest interaction of meet, quick conversation, what are you up to later, let's hang out, phone number exchange, okay, something as simple as that requires some compliance. That's the lowest level of compliance. You can move it on to to something more fun, and the more you do with her, the more bought in it is. But here's the thing, her buy-in isn't from droning on from a long, dumb conversation. Okay. Her buy-in is from following you. All right. By following you and doing things and complying and doing things with you and for you is how her emotional buy-in gets the highest. And that's how her trust is built. And that's how her desire and attraction is built. So some of you guys, a lot of you guys really, are not demonstrating any kind of authority, and you're not getting compliance, okay, from the girl. You're not getting her to invest, right? And I talk about in my course how to get her investment up through the text conversations, because that's a big problem, right? Why a lot of internet initial meets don't result in a date or meetup or her coming over, because there's no authority being demonstrated and no compliance happening on her end from the texting for most of you guys. But I teach you guys how to do that in the course. And so that's a key component. If you don't demonstrate, a woman wants to be led in the bedroom. Your end result, the reason you're talking to her, is sex. Even if you want a girlfriend someday, okay, she's your girlfriend because you guys have sex. Okay, so let's talk about what it is. The reason for the interaction is to mate, have sexual interaction. Okay, sexual interaction means that you lead her as a man in the bedroom, to the bedroom, and in the bedroom. If you can't lead her out of the bedroom, there is not going to be much of, except for one-off circumstances where she's really wasted, or she's just thinks you're super hot and you just happen to be the right guy, right time, right place scenarios, which is going to be very rare for most of you. You're not, if you're not leading this into an event where sex happens, it's not going to be an event where sex happens. And so that leading requires you to demonstrate authority and getting her to follow you. This starts from the initial conversation, and this builds into action, builds into some physical touch, even an escalation. Okay. And then builds into eventual doing things with you, making things happening. And then of course, ending up in the bedroom. And so those are 5 things, 5 reasons your skills might be failing. All right, so review this video. Okay, this is good. And my friend Rich Cooper is probably doing his show right now. So I'm going to get off so you guys can go over to Entrepreneurs and Cars and go watch him next. But before you do that, go click that link below because, like I said, I'm already about half full and it's only been my first day now of open enrollment. I had my pre-enrollment already happened over the weekend. So open enrollment for the Pickup for the Busy Man course is a link in the description of this video. Press that button, sign up. Okay. There's a ton of course material, and then we're going to do one-on-ones via Zoom call with the group. I'll have the schedule for that by the end of the week once we've closed enrollment. But once I get to too many people, I'm going to close the enrollment, and we're already halfway there. And I'm going to try to keep it open till Friday. So don't waste time, guys. All right. Get on there, get into it, and I hope to see you on the other end in the course. Thanks again for the support. Take care.